Welcome everybody to the Institutional Scalper channel. My name is Max. I've been trading with the Institutional Scalper for around a year and a half and have recently started the Orderflow course. For those unfamiliar, the Institutional Scalper approach includes the exclusive methods and the use of exclusive methods and tools, including the delta zones, which come with a selection of trading setups derived from insights only available via order flows. If you're interested in learning more about the Institutional Scalper approach, please like and subscribe. Make sure to check out the rest of the content on the channel, or for further information, contact institutional_scalper on Discord, or email institutionalscalper@gmail.com. Link for both of those in the description. Along with me and a group of genuine, hardworking and quality people is Angelo, who will be sharing the struggles and hardships which form the man he is today. Then, of course, we'll cover his introduction to trading and the usual teething problems and how it's been going since then. Angelo was kind enough to share his story and a story few survive or thrive from and few still share. Angelo, it's your story, so I'd like you to tell it. If you could touch on the early family life, anything you're comfortable with, and the effects you feel it had on you in your formative years.
Yeah, for sure. So growing up, come from a single family mother that obviously suffered from abuse early on. And in the form of, that's actually my father was the one that administered the abuse. So I got to watch it firsthand. Um, and anyways, it basically turned me into being a protector type of guy, and needing to provide for my family and watch out for them and make sure that they were taken care of. So with all of that, I think it's made me stronger and it's made me always open-minded to look for new possibilities and just what else might be out there in the world that I could discover, and also at the same time be realistic, and figure out how to make money, how to pay the bills, how to feed the family, that kind of thing. But yeah, it was rough. But it didn't last very long. She learned how to protect us in her own ways and kind of got away from it all. And I mean, we went from place to place to place, but eventually we kind of settled down and found something that worked for all of us. But yeah, it was fun. It was something I wouldn't take back for nothing.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
So, obviously we don't have to go into details, but just touching on it, you mentioned obviously it was essentially survival mode for you. You mentioned essentially being homeless for a little while, and as you mentioned, your mum was very young and also single. So, with that, as you've just sort of explained, that's helped you in a way. But in terms of, you also mentioned your father. Did you have any sort of father figures growing up? Did you have any sort of male role models or anything like that? What helped you become the man you are today?
So that's actually that's good to touch on. So obviously, when your father's not present, naturally, I think we tend to flock towards males to try to teach us who to be. That kind of helped me in the construction form of things, like to be able to get jobs and stuff. I learned from those guys in that way, but I also learned what not to do from a lot of these guys.
Yeah. For me, at least, I feel like everyone has like this false idea of what a man is, like what it takes to be a man. It's like if you've got a house, or if you're renting a place, you've got a job and you've got a girl, you're good. It doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily make you a man. Just because you've got those things, it doesn't make you a man. So
no, for
there's a lot
sure.
more to it than that in terms of character and substance, etc.
Yeah, the world made me tough.
Yeah,
My home life,
yeah,
I was raised by the mom, so she wasn't trying to make us tough. She loved us for who we are, but the world is what makes you tough. You go out there and, yeah, I always felt like I needed to be strong all the time.
mm-hmm.
But, and it also I had a better look at the world because I didn't view the world as negative.
Yeah,
I only, I only take the positives from things and people and businesses. And so I'm not always dwelling on the negative.
sure.
And
Accept things as facts. It's usually the best way
yeah,
to go, in my opinion. It is what it is. Can't be anything more.
you
Um,
can't change it.
no. So from early days, you showed a flair for entrepreneurship and also a strong work ethic. In your early teens, you started a lawn care and maintenance business, and then set your sights on becoming an electrician. From there, you started your own company in that field. What gave you that drive? What, I guess we already touched on it, as the survival mode again, but if you could just emphasize on that point.
Yeah. So the entrepreneurial side of it, I think, comes from just realizing that you have greater potential than just working for somebody 9 to 5. They control how much you make, and it's comfortable, but I've never really been comfortable, so it's easy for me to venture outside of that realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I'd rather dictate how much I made rather than have someone else dictate how much I made. And it was just natural for me, like learning things and picking things up. I pick them up way faster than most people. So, like even in the electrical trade, like I learned how to do electrical work in about a year, where some guys they'll spend 10 years trying to learn it.
Yeah.
And immediately I realized that like I need to put this into fruition and make money on my own. So I do my regular job, but then I go do side jobs after that. And so I was basically doubling my income that way. And I would make more on the side than I did at work all day. I'd make like 150, 200 bucks a day, but then I go do a side job and I'd be there 3, 4 hours and I'd bring home $1,000. Like it just started making more sense.
Right. Okay. So, because obviously you were on it early. So, what age did you? Because essentially, this is self-efficacy, in a way.
Yeah.
Like figuring out that you can do this. Like, what age was that for you?
Probably about 14, 15.
When did you or when and how did you get into trading? What brought that to your attention, and how did you get started?
So I was always kind of interested in, like, I knew one day as I got older, I would probably like look for some sort of investment, like ways to invest. Like I was thinking that it would be more along the stock market. A lot of people talk about when they get older, they're just going to sit and play the stock market.
Yeah.
So that's kind of always been in the back of my head. But what got me into trading was that I have an uncle that is involved in trading, and he got into it heavily. And basically, when he falls into something, like he falls hard, he falls in love with it. Uh, so he goes hard. Like he's like looking into everything you could possibly think of for hours on end. And then he gets excited about it. He calls me up and starts talking about it with me. And then he gets, and I start looking into it, and we both just kind of start getting giddy about it. And so that's what ended up happening actually. And I started trading Forex and basically learning all the hardships with Forex. So I started a small account on Forex.com, and I was only trading probably like 0.01 lots, or yeah, 0.01 lots. And I was actually having success. I was up like 15% in like the first week. I was like, man, this is easy. And then it's funny because as soon as I started to go towards the prop firms, then I realized, how rigged they were and that it wasn't as easy. I was like, why am I up 15% on my personal account, but on these props, I can't seem to win a trade? And so then I started getting interested on how I could beat those prop firms. So.
Right. Okay. And what did you find with that? Is that how you've ended up here, or was that earlier in the journey?
That was way earlier into the journey. That was probably about a month in.
Right.
And we were trying all this crazy stuff. We were trying signal groups. We were trying looking up strategies, trying new strategies, a bunch of retail strategies. We were running them all. And like I was signing up for all kinds of things on YouTube, like free signals with copy traders. And I mean, it was interesting for sure. And yeah, like what I found out was that none of them really worked.
Yeah.
And like the whole crypto thing was new to me too. Like I thought that crypto was a joke.
Yeah.
When I first heard about it, I thought it was a joke. But
what most people are gonna come into when they first start looking into trading was some of the stuff you mentioned, like signal groups, YouTube videos. I'm pulling this from your story. like magical indicators and even paying people to pass challenges. Put us in your shoes at that time. What was your mindset like? What was going through that like? The peaks and flows of it, the hopes of it, etc. Like,
Yeah.
what was all of that like?
So basically, that's why I think your background is so important when you're looking at trading now, because like I'm always skeptical about everything. So I don't go into anything full bore. So with all of that stuff, I was always kind of just sitting back watching it, like I'd let my uncle go out and sign up for the groups, and then he would send me the signals and I would research the signals for a week,
Mm.
like things like that. And he would just take every single one. I think we had a session one night where we took every single signal. Like it was funny.
Right.
We took every single signal. It's like, and like 2 out of 10 of them hit.
Yeah.
Uh, Man, yeah. Like so, I was like, I kind of right off the bat, I kind of knew that like
Yeah.
this is way hyped up. Like
Mm.
there's no accuracy to this whatsoever.
No, I think we were discussing it in the chat a little bit ago. Us and Scalper. It's like most signal groups they send out 50-50, like 50% sells, 50% buys, and that way they can keep the turnover going, because some people
Yeah.
stick around, some people leave, etc. So
Yeah, one group was, I can't remember their name, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't say it because I wouldn't want to make them look bad or anything. But
mm-hmm.
yeah, they weren't even like, they were saying, and I think they were bringing in people with this terminology, but they were saying that there was a guy that was profitable, and he was only 4% accurate.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, there's like, in what world? I just couldn't believe it. And
Yeah.
like they were getting people to buy their indicators and all kinds of stuff, their
Yeah.
signals, past challenges for them.
Absolutely. I just want to touch on the last one, because it's sort of, I compare this to my story and what Brandon was talking about, where you experimented with having someone pay to pass challenges, etc. Like, could you jump into that a little bit and explain what your experience with that was, or?
Yeah. So my uncle had paid a guy to pass his challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't remember what he paid him. He paid him like 300 or 400 bucks or something like that.
Right.
But he did it one time, passed his challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh man, like maybe I should pay him to pass mine.
Yeah.
So I paid this guy to pass my challenge, and then I went and kind of observed on MT4 what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, dude, he was like 10 lots in the GJ. He had like 5 or 6 of them open.
Right.
Yeah, and every single one of them lost. He lost my account in like 3 hours. And so he's like, well, I have a guaranteed to pass. Like, I'll keep doing it for you. But I had to keep buying the challenges
Right.
to pass. So I was like my third one in, and he couldn't pass it. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah. I added a little sort of insight there. I think everyone has to get to realize at some point there's like no shortcuts in trading, because again, that mindset of wanting someone to pass the challenge for you, like what are you gonna do once they've passed for you? If you can't
Yeah.
pass yourself, then you're gonna blow the account anyway. So, and it's that thing we spoke off camera about, sort of like self-esteem. I feel like this falls under self-esteem and again self-efficacy. Like, it's a pivotal point when you realize the onus is on you to do the heavy lifting, and that no one can do that for you. And I think that's something that Scalper's really good at. He'll drive that. He'll give you everything you need, but the onus is on you, and that's the way it needs to be. Because at the end of the day, it's only you at the charts. It's only you that can choose entries, etc. So you just got to throw yourself in. And you mentioned obviously your uncle and finding CyberX, and you mentioned that it was after he'd been scammed. What sort of scammed on a Discord? What went on there?
So that's actually how he was introduced to trading. Actually, was by one of those pretend to be like, they send you a text message or something, and pretending to be like lost, not know, like, oh, I'm looking for Kevin, and are you Kevin? And you're like, no, I'm not Kevin. And you get this like pretty Asian girl that's trying to sell you, like just trying to get to know you kind of thing. And then basically she ends up telling you she's a professional trader. And so he ended up going that route.
Mm,
And he actually ended up signing up for their broker and everything
right.
to try to trade their system. And then he was like, every trade that he was taking was winning.
Mm,
So he kept taking these trades, and it was like telling him that he was going to get like this massive payout.
mm-hmm.
So he's going to get like a $5,000 payout or whatever. And it ended up being like a total scam. So they ended up taking his money when he put it into the broker. I don't know if he actually put any money into it or what. I can't remember exactly the exact story.
Right.
Like I've ran into those people before, but I realized that they were scammers right off the bat.
Got you.
But he actually thought that she was legit. And so that's how he was introduced to Forex trading.
Did you get into DeFi before trading, sort of scalping and day trading, or which one came first?
Um, Actually, yeah. So day trading came first and scalping, trying
Right.
to learn Forex.
Mm-hmm.
So that came first, and then the DeFi came later. Once Cypress introduced the DeFi, like
Got
I
you.
was just automatically tuned into that.
Right. Okay.
So the crypto, like as soon as I started learning about it and what it was, then I just developed a huge interest to crypto in general.
Right. Okay. So I was gonna ask you if you, because I'm not into DeFi at all. I've decided to just sort of focus on day trading for now. I just want you to give a brief rundown on DeFi and how you utilize the deltas in sort of synergy with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so with DeFi, that's where that's where you actually definitely get the edge. Is the Delta system is just so amazingly accurate. Like I can almost always know where a certain crypto is going just off of the DCA Delta, and it hasn't let me down one time yet. So with the DeFi approach, like I obviously didn't have any kind of strategies going in. Like you'll hear that like Cypress and those guys talk about it all the time, where you should probably learn as much as possible and before you start diving into this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, I'm gonna dive in head first with anything that I do.
Yeah.
That's just the way I learn. You could tell me a million times how you would do it. I'm still gonna do it my way.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, I started learning. Okay, so yeah, you can lose money in this if you don't know where to get into the market.
Sure.
So I started looking at the deltas, and I was able to get in on Arrow when Arrow was at and obviously Cypress posted it too, but I can see it on the delta system.
Mm.
So I got in at Arrow when it was down at like 40, 45 cents, and I plugged in like $1,000. And because of that, my DeFi portfolio hasn't gone into the negative.
Right.
Before I put it in, I put it in when it was up high. And so I probably would have been taking a huge loss if I wouldn't have deployed that capital at the right time.
Right.
And so that's what I've been most interested in, and that and the yield. Like you could take that money right out. You don't have to leave it in there. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are trying to compound it. They have this theory of compounding. Well, if the market's not moving forward, if it's moving down, you're not compounding because you're losing.
Yeah.
And so if you get it at the bottom and you're riding it up, you're making money at the same time and you're compounding and you pull that yield out. So it could be a win-win with the right strategy for sure. But
Got
it
you.
is learning that is hard.
What's the standard like holding time on a if this makes any sense on a DeFi entry?
Um, I think you could hold for months.
Yeah. Right.
You,
Okay.
you could easily hold for months. I've been I've been in it for about 2 months now,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've watched my money pretty much 2.5 times. Psychology and trading, like they say, to learn a system first. Like institutional scalper says, learn your system first, and then the psychology will come.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that actually, but I do think that in DeFi the psychology is a little bit more major than it is in trading.
Yeah. How so?
because you're watching you're watching your money depreciate.
Yeah.
So you're hoping that it's supposed to appreciate and it's
Mhm.
supposed to just set and forget. So when you see that money going down, you're like, man, like I'm in trouble, you know?
Okay.
And so you're gonna scramble and you're gonna pull that out and take that in permanent loss.
Got you. So I assume like with trading, you're in and out, money made, money lost, etc. No big deal.
Yeah.
Whereas with DeFi, you're holding it for a lot longer, and you've got
Yeah.
more time invested.
And
All
you
that
got
jazz.
real money.
Yeah.
It's like you're not in a prop firm at $100 a month. You're in for thousands of dollars.
Got you. Fair enough.
So I
Um.
think the psychology is huge because I see it all the time. I see people take their money out and then
Mm,
they're constantly bouncing it back and forth at all these different pools. And it's like, you're not going to make no money that way.
no. Too many entries, too many opportunities to slip up. Right.
Yeah. And every time you pull it out and move it, you're taking fees
Right. Got you.
because that's how you earn in DeFi is all the fees, all the
Okay.
crypto transactions is what you're pulling a part of that profit.
Institutional scalpers approach in terms of delta setups, and what was your approach for soaking up all that information?
So yeah, I was immediately drawn to the deltas for sure. And I my thing is that deltas are hard because you have to forward test it. You can't back test anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be watching the market. So I wasn't able to watch markets as often as others. You know, I was working a full time job and then working my side business at the same time. So
Yeah.
finding that time to incorporate into learning deltas was the challenge for me. But I would try to set aside, 2 to 3 hours, and I would watch the markets, watch those deltas, and then I would leave the deltas on my screen. I still actually have this. It's a bad habit. I still leave the old deltas on so that I could go back and look at that setup playing out.
Right.
So then that's how I learned the deltas is I would leave that delta and I'd come back and I'd replay it at night.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I printed it out. I made a book, a really cool looking book. I don't even know where it is now because I pretty much almost know them by heart now. But
Yeah. So.
um, I had to do that. That was easier than everyone posting it on their charts. Like I thought it was easier just look in the book.
Sure.
And so, yeah, but learning that was huge. I mean, it taken months. I'm still obviously learning some of those setups, but
Yeah.
um, that was huge.
Yeah. And then how does that compare to the order flow course material and the tools? And like how would you measure the impact or the difference between the delta setups and then obviously what we've got access to now?
So what we have access to now is incredible. I talk about it all the time, but it's almost like it's not even real.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like this isn't real. I still even people are still trying to convince me that they've seen this somewhere else and blah blah blah. But I think in junction with the Delta system, that's kind of where the order flow course really took off for me. Is when because at first when I was starting to learn order flow, I was just looking at order flow,
Mm.
and then I totally forgot about deltas. Like I wasn't even looking for them.
Yeah.
And then once I realized, man, I gotta look at these deltas too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had like this epiphany moment where I was like, wow, like I know where it's going based off of the deltas, and now I have basically tools that are telling me exactly when to enter,
Mm-hmm.
to exit.
Yeah.
That was always my main issue was when to enter and when to exit.
Yeah.
Entering was easier than exiting, and so now I know when to enter and when to exit.
Mm.
And so the order flow is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I I've found that the easiest trades with the order flow, at least in my experience, is when you've got the obviously all the confluences combined. So I think before, at least for me, when you were just doing the delta setups, um, there was always some guesswork involved in which direction it's going to go, whether it's going to continue, whether it's going to actually play out, etc. Obviously, we have the
Yeah,
continuation set up for that now, but the order flow just takes that guesswork out completely. So slight scenario change. How do you, because I believe you traded both, obviously with DeFi. How do you find trading futures compared to forex and crypto, etc.?
Um, so to me, forex is way easier. Like futures it's so much more volatile. But it's also what keeps it interesting. Whereas like I would follow a setup on GU for 2-3 days,
Mm,
whereas in futures I'm out of the market in an hour.
yeah.
That's kind of what drew me to the futures trading. Actually, was I got tired of trying to find a setup for 3 days on GU,
Mm,
uh, and then the volatility of like GJ was just insane. So
yeah.
um, yeah, the futures is I like that fast approach a lot better to get
Hmm.
in and get out. And it's also more interesting to learn. So yeah, I think if you can trade futures, you can trade anything.
Yeah. I think again in terms of the psychology of things, when at least when you first start trading either crypto or trading forex, because it's a lot slower, you're more likely to force entries and look for entries that aren't really there. With
Mhm.
futures, especially if you have order flow, there's so many opportunities that you're a bit of a fool if you take if you're taking the wrong ones, because it just means you're not patient enough. So that's my thoughts on it anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
patience is key for sure.
100%. Patience is a massive thing. Massive thing. Self control is massive, and then just sort of doing the work to study the setups and what you actually need to be looking for, rather than just impulse trading and being impatient. Um, so I just want to swing it back to a little bit of a more personal touch. Same question I asked Brando. What does becoming a successful and consistent trader mean to you? And what are your goals? Like, what do you want to achieve through trading?
Mainly, I want the freedom to not have to go to a 9 to 5 every day. Um, so my goals aren't crazy. Like I don't need to be a multi trillionaire or nothing like that. But I would like to make enough money to just be content and
Yeah,
not have to struggle or not have to figure, if I lose my job, I'm going to have to pay all this money that for all the things I've accumulated, like my house, cars, whatever. And so just to be financial stable is really stability is really where it is for me. And then obviously to not have to be stuck in the same spot all the time. I'd like to, travel the world or go do other things.
sure.
And yeah, I think with trading that's sustainable and you could do it from anywhere. So
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like the key to self mastery and freedom. Um, and how impactful would you say institutional scalpers approach, and obviously joining the Cyprex Discord, how impactful would you say that has been in moving you towards those goals?
um to be honest, it's game changing. Um like being a person that's always been searching for like-minded individuals for like my whole life, friends and family, they're not like-minded. That you love them, but they don't think the same as you.
Mm,
So when you see other people that are motivated and driven and you see people that are up every single day trying to give you a motivational quote and with institutional scalper, I just fell in love with the dude because he's always like if I send him a message within 5 minutes, he's responding to it. Like what other mentor in the game does that?
yeah,
None.
no,
And people are like, oh well, what if it's a scam and what if it's a sham and what if it's this and what if it's that? Well, if it was a scam, the dude would have took my money and left.
yeah,
Like he'll like if I call him or text him or Discord message him right now, like he's gonna answer.
mm,
Within 5-10 minutes.
yeah.
Maybe a few hours if he's taking a nap or something.
He doesn't sleep, bro. He doesn't sleep. We're talking about the algo here.
Yeah,
If he's on recharge or
he responds at all hours of the night. 7 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning over there. He's still on.
Uh, um,
And Cypress is amazing too because he's just a motivator.
yeah.
Like that dude gives me the chills every single time I watch a Zoom meeting or listen to that guy talk for a minute.
Is there anything since starting trading that you've made adjustments for, or any sort of self improvement you've done on your trading journey? Anything along those lines, or
Um, yeah, the work ethic is important for sure. I've kind of sacrificed my other journeys, like my other businesses and things like that, to free up more time for this because I think that this is going to take me somewhere further than that ever did.
mm-hmm.
And also not sacrifice my body because I was sacrificing my body, like my knees are giving out, my shoulders pulling out, like I got a torn muscle in my shoulder, things like that. It's just
Yeah,
with trading, I think it's worth just dedicating the time. Even if you have to take a sacrifice somewhere else,
sure.
because once you get there, you're not going to have to sacrifice your body, and you could build something even bigger and better.
Yeah,
So basically, I would say, have a pre-routine. So right before you start trading, like have a conversation with yourself or run through a checklist or demo trade for 5-10 minutes or 20 minutes or something, like just kind of get the jitters out of there. Don't just come in cold and think that you're going to master the market. Like give yourself a breather.
mm-hmm.
Another thing is with me, money is just paper. Like losing money, I've done that my whole life. I've never really had a lot of it. So, I mean, the psychology of me losing money isn't there. Like it doesn't exist. It's just
Sure.
paper. So, more of the competition is amongst myself,
Mm.
like the battle amongst myself. Like if I'm grasping this information or if this setup is going to continue to play, or if I'm looking at the right things. And so I think that pre-routine is major. Like go over your journal or whatever it is that you do. Find something every for 20 minutes and just turn your mind not on taking trades.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you've done that, then you can start to execute. And like I bet you'll have a lot better grasp on what's going on.
Sure. Sure. Nice touch. Um, so that's actually all the questions I have. If there's anything in particular you want to share for aspiring traders or any part of your journey you think people would benefit from hearing that we haven't touched on, please share.
One thing I would like to say is just be relentless. You're gonna take a whooping in this game. Like it's just gonna happen. But just turn to your mentors and listen to their motivation and get pumped again.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give up. It's a journey and it's a game, but at the end of the day, it's a journey with your own brain.
Yeah.
Like just like sports is psychological. It's in your head. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you can overcome the demons and whatever background noises you have in your mind, you could accomplish a lot of things. So just learn how to have some zen and turn that off and overcome it. Don't give up. Keep fighting.
I love it, man. Very nice. So thank you for your time, Angelo, and for sharing your experience with us today. It's been great to have you on. For those still watching, thank you for joining us. Please like and subscribe if you feel like you've enjoyed and gained something from the content. We'll be back doing more interviews with the rest of the squad, and we'll have people back on as we progress. Uh, Again, just a sign off from me, trade on what you see, not on what you feel, and take care. Thank you.